you so much, and I am honored to have your endorsement for governor. And listen, it is so good to be here. I've heard so many bad things about you. And I'm so glad to know that it is not true. That it is not true. People ask me all the time, Amanda, how are you going to win Virginia? And I said, the same way I'm going to run the rest of the state.
That's right.
I'm going to double down. I am not going to back down from our principles and our values that make us liberty-minded patriots. I will not back down. You know, I have been watching. I've been involved. There's so many things whenever you're speaking I wanted to say. Oh, there's so much. I'm not politically correct, so Lord knows what you're going to end up with tonight. The last rehearsed speech I had was 5 years ago when I had my first red speech, and it was terrible. And I put my speech down, and I've been speaking from my heart ever since.
Yep.
So forgive me, I am not politically correct. I make no apologies for offending any of you in here tonight. I'm 50 years old, and I don't care anymore. So let's talk real quickly, since we talked about State Central. I made a promise to myself I would never attend one of those meetings. You come away with heart attacks, failing, everything. I mean, it's just, y'all, it's so stressful. I went as a proxy. Like, this isn't even a made-up story. I went as Senator Bill DeSteph asked me to go as a proxy for him. And I ended up delivering a floor speech right in the middle of it because I got so ticked off halfway through it. And I apparently voted against what Senator DeSteph had asked me to do and kind of went rogue, and I've never been invited back. So that's how I roll. We have a hot mess on our hands in Virginia. You know, I have raised 4 kids, the last one of which has just graduated from high school and will be attending Liberty University this coming fall. Which means that I'm an empty nester at this point, and you have to understand the journey, because I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids, and we had 4.
Wow.
And who can say with God all things are possible, right?
Yes.
We ended up homeschooling our kids for 8 years. Let's just say I wasn't preparing myself with a resume to run for governor, because I decided that I was going to homeschool my kids for 8 years after having a corporate world. I mean, I left the corporate world. I worked in the finance and banking industry and management and finance. It's really boring, y'all. Gray and black suits all the time. It's really boring compared to what I do now. We have a lot at stake right now. Our children are our future, and they are counting on each of us to stop being the silent majority. They're counting on us. It takes a lot of courage to speak up when the fish are all going in one direction and you're going the other direction. Let me tell you, I've had some really hard decisions to make. And one of those was at that Second Amendment rally when, like every year, I've with VCDL and Virginia Citizens Defense League, by the way. What I will tell you is that at the time I was told, if you remember, I just want to go back in time a minute. We had no idea he was going to show up here. We didn't know if it was going to be a war or what was going to happen that day on January the 20th. It was a Monday. Remember it well. And at this point in time, I had a couple gentlemen who were actually here with me today who were actually protecting me. They're actually official security. And they volunteer their time because they're like, this girl's gonna die if we don't protect her because she speaks the truth, which is not very popular. So give it up to my security team. Over here, David's in the back over here, Philip with me here today. So I had a decision to make, and my husband said, are you sure you want to do this? Because they were telling me that I was Antifa's #1 target and they wanted to dismember me. And I thought a minute about it, just a minute. And I said, if I'm not going to do it, who is? And I said, he's like, do you want me to go with the rally? I said, no, you stay home with the kids. The boys need you. I've already done my job. I'm going. They picked me up in an SUV. It's like 3 of them, security guys, and this was really cool. It was like something out of a James Bond movie. This is gonna be cool. Can we have theme music? So we get there. We end up at the Jefferson Hotel, and I've never stayed overnight in the Jefferson Hotel, but it was really cool. They had guys with machine guns in my room to watch over and protect me. And I felt so secure. I still carry, even with security, y'all. Always still carry. I'm carrying tonight. You guys are expected. I wanted to show y'all that concealed carry purse earlier. But the Second Amendment is the foundation of every single liberty that we have.
Yes.
The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, of course, the religious freedoms that we have, the freedom to assemble.
Right.
And if they can take that away, we have lost it all. It is that important. And you know, this session was an all-out attack on the Second Amendment. And if you look at that event on January 20th, they had a speech at the Capitol. Well, raise your hand if you were there that day, January 20th. It made me cry on the inside because I looked at my Capitol, my beloved Capitol, and it was in a cage, like a bird, like trapped, like enslaved. You know, you were talking about slavery. That's illegal. That's wrong. And you're doing it to my Capitol. And then, with a mask. Y'all, this is so symbolic. So symbolic. They want to take away our guns and shut us up. And just wait till July 1 hits. When all those crazy 27, all these bills, thousands of bills have passed that are attacking law-abiding citizens, not criminals. They're setting the criminals free.
Right.
98 convicted felons, most of whom are murderers, are being set free in the streets. What is going on? What is going on? Well, I did deliver a speech, and I remember Philip Van Cleve, who, y'all, he's a patriot. That man worked so hard, and you know, every time you see him, he helped me, by the way, pick out the holster for my first revolver that I ever carried at a gun show. And I love Philip Van Cleve, but I had the honor of going right after him at that gun rally and speaking. And you know, I was so humbled to be able to do that, but it took my breath away. Whenever I stood there at the Capitol and I looked over the hill at all of you, just the sea of people, it sent chills down my spine. And I was so encouraged to see you all there. And I said, this is America. This is America. And I was also thankful I had not been beheaded before my speech. I was very thankful for that. So what has happened to our country? They are trying to fundamentally change us. And we can't allow it to happen, y'all. We have been so taught to be politically correct that we fail to speak the truth. We fail to speak the truth. And it's getting us into trouble. It's where we are today. I remember growing up, they said there's 2 things you don't talk about, politics and religion. That is a lie. Those are the 2 things you need to be talking about. Politics and religion. And you need to be talking about religion in your churches. And if you're not, then your door should be closed, because everything, your faith should affect every day of the week. And by the way, on the record, every single vote that I make is influenced by my biblical worldview. That's one of them. Everybody loves it. I am 100% pro-life. You know, I'm 100% pro-life. Obviously, you know, I'm 100% Second Amendment. I have an A rating with the NRA. I have a 100% rating with BCDL. I'm also a business owner. Right. Not just another attorney in the General Assembly. I'm a business owner. And my degree is in finance. I have a business degree. I double majored in finance and management at Virginia Tech. And, you know, I'm just so thankful for Virginia Tech and Hokies, and I don't know what's going on with my school right now, but they have an identity problem right now. Because at freshman orientation, they're trying to tell children that they need to identify with personal preferred pronouns. And
Yes.
I know, holy crap.
after I had a heart attack, I called the president of the university and asked him what the heck was going on there, because I was embarrassed by my alma mater. And he apologized because he knows me. I will make a big deal about it, because it is a big deal. And I had Penny Nance who's the president of Concerned Women of America, and she called me up and she's like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, hey, look, I got his number, let me call him. I sit on higher education in the Senate. Speak up. We cannot allow the vocal minority to take away our freedoms and our rights. And every person has a choice and a responsibility. Don't you dare put that off on someone else. Who's going to go down to those monuments and protect those monuments? Who's going to go? Do it yourself. Get some people to go with you, but go do it. We, the people, own the Commonwealth of Virginia. We, the people, own this joint. Not these people. They're supposed to be representatives, and if they're not, we're going to get them out of there. And I got some really good news coming in on that cell phone a few minutes ago. I just can't wait. Give it 2 days. Get ready to blow up. Anyway, in a good way. There are a lot of good people in this room, and I know that many of you are afraid. Some of you are afraid. Some of you are. But don't be. Don't be. When you're tempted to be afraid, don't be. Remember what the Lord said. He said, fear not, I am with you, even into the end of this age. And you know, whatever that fear is, whether it's fear of getting COVID or whatever, you know, when I don't do COVID anymore, I'm back to normal, y'all. It's called, I don't do COVID. I'm done. I just made a decision one day. I'm like, no, we're not doing this anymore. So I live a normal life now. I do lots of tailgates. Every single Friday from now, I'm booked. I love to come to Fairfax and do a tailgate. I don't do COVID anymore. I'm back to normal. Full speed ahead. And if they don't like it, I'll just show them a picture of Governor Northam with no mask on in Virginia Beach. And, if they start this, I have a plan. So if they start this whole thing where the snitching thing, like we're gonna snitch on you. Okay, we're gonna have a statewide snitch on Governor Northam and Mayor Stone. Because I'm not afraid, because they're going first, right? Listen, let me just tell you something. For the first time in 27 years, the GOP has no control in Virginia. I mean, think about it. It is like going 90 miles an hour with your teenage kid driving the car and the brakes go out. That's what it's like sitting in the Senate right now. It is a scary place to be. And I taught 4 kids how to drive. It's very scary. It's worse than that. And, people were saying, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Listen, I'm a mom first. When you say, what are you going to do about it? I will do something. I will do something. And I'm like, well, we don't have the vote, so I can't do that. Well, the bill hasn't become law yet, so we can't file an injunction. By the way, I'm not an attorney, but I knew a good one, Tim Anderson, who is a great attorney. Had dinner with him last night. We have all kinds of good meetings. We have all kinds of plans. And what I will tell you is that I had to sit on the front row, and the press is right in front of me. Attorneys are really good at keeping poker face. Not this girl. You will see, it's like a mood ring. So you can kind of see what I'm thinking. And if you look at the pictures in the paper, that's what was going on. Just so you know, y'all are like, that doesn't look like you. I was just having a moment, y'all. I was having a moment with each of those bills as I watched them as they, one at a time, took our liberties away, one at a time. And I said, y'all, I gotta do something. And I said, I'll run for governor, because people were saying they were gonna leave our state. No one was standing up, not even the Republican Party, the ones that are supposed to be our advocates. In fact, I'm gonna have at that convention, I think we should change the mascot of the Republican Party from an elephant to a cricket. Because they're nothing but. To get a backbone. We have got to have a different type of Republican if we are going to survive as a party and as a state. And so I will no longer, if you don't have fire in your belly, I'm not endorsing you. I agree. I don't endorse just anybody. Republicans are alike. I don't have to tell you anything that you don't already know. We have to get the right people elected. You guys have to ask questions. And I'm gonna give y'all a chance to ask me any question you want. Any question you want. Because that is your job. It is your job to vet our candidates that are running for and don't skim through it. Take the time. Spend a whole meeting. Grill them. Get, whatever you do, and take your time asking the questions. If someone's running for the Senate or the House, look at the bills that we vote on and ask how they're gonna vote on them. This year I did something I've never done before. This Republicans accountable too. And on my Facebook page, if they voted, any Republican voted against the Second Amendment, we took a picture of their face. We took a picture of their business address, their vote, and how they voted. And they didn't like it. And I remember one fellow senator sitting to my back right came up behind me. He went over and he brings his phone in my face like this and he goes, "Did you write this, Chase?" And I said, "Yes." "Did you vote like that?" And he marched back over to his seat and he looked at me and he goes, I said, "Go for it."
Love it, go for it, girl.
That's right. I'm 50. Good luck taking me out because I had the people of Virginia back in this chick. Whenever we went back into session this time, I won the first time. I was not the GOP's choice. Even though I'm a Republican, I've always voted Republican. There was a 27-year incumbent who'd been there too long and was completely out of touch. And I challenged him. I won in a three-way race, y'all, with hardly any money. Nobody liked me. Nobody's endorsements but the people. And that's all I needed. And I won with 40% of the vote. And then I caused all kinds of trouble when I got in there because I didn't belong to anybody. I didn't belong to money. Nobody owed me any favors. I was a free agent.
There you go, sound like Trump.
Yeah, that's right. And all the legislation that I fought, and I got 3/4 of my list done. 3/4 of it. And I thought, wow, okay, maybe I'll do one more term so I can finish it off. Because I do support term limits. And I do introduce term limit legislation every single year. But the politicians vote it down or won't have it heard. But this year was different when I won because we lost. We lost because of failed Republican leadership, and we lost because they failed to challenge the Democrats and didn't even put anyone up against them.
Right.
That is failed leadership, and I will not sit under failed leadership. So finally, even the Republican Senate caucus threw the book at me. They threw the book at me. I had all kinds of stuff coming at me, just all kinds of stuff they were trying to throw and create, and it was a hot mess. But you know what? The people saw through all that. And I won with the highest margin of any other senator that had a competitive race, 10 percentage points. So I won once without their support. I won twice whenever they were like all out gunning for me. I mean, my own local GOP kicks me out a couple weeks because I refused to support a sheriff that supports sanctuary cities. I'm sorry, but I don't like sanctuary cities. And if you have an R by your name, maybe they should kick him out because he's not the real Republican.
That's right.
So, I got kicked out of my local GOP. They didn't even bother to call me, y'all. I mean, it was just a polite call. It was just like, "Oh, you did that? You're like out." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Thanks for, spending the last 10 years coming to these painful meetings. All that just poof like that. So then I feel kind of emboldened because I'm thinking I'm going to the Republican Senate caucus because we had just all been reelected and We were all meeting together and it was time to elect new leadership. And who did they want to put up? Tommy Normant. Tommy Normant. Now listen, I love everybody. I love you anyway, okay? I love you, but listen. He championed, sponsored legislation against the Second Amendment. He has raised our taxes. And I looked at my conservative leaders who were around him, you know, Mark Obenshane and Ryan McDougal, Bill Stanley, all good guys. And I said, what have you run for leadership? I mean, because when my group came in 2015, we were the most conservative state senate we'd ever had, probably in the history of Virginia. Now's our chance to have conservatives in a leadership position. And they buckled. They said, no, we want him to be our leader. And I said, he is not us. He's not one of us. Somebody needs to step up. They didn't want to be bothered with all the leadership. I don't know what they did. So you know what I did? I sent them a text for leadership. I said, if you vote and put Tommy Normant in there, I will leave the caucus. Well, they had a vote. And there was no discussion. Because, you know, there's a lot of times not a discussion, lot of not a discussion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, backroom deals and stuff. You know, you don't have to say anything because it's already been done.
Yes.
Tommy Normant was elected. I didn't cause a fuss or anything. One of the staff members was leaving that night. He says, you know, I'm leaving. And I said, and then I raised my hand. And I said, well, I'm leaving too. And they're like, what? You're leaving? Yeah. Bye, Felicia. And let me just tell you something. I'm so thankful I left because I think it's important the leadership that you put over yourself. And that caucus was trying to make me be quiet. They didn't like that I was on social media talking to the people because I'm on Facebook all the time. They didn't like me to be so vocal. They didn't like me talking to the media. I talk to the media all the time. But I also have Facebook Live on when they're interviewing me. So y'all see the real interview, right?
Yeah.
You can see the hit piece a couple days after our news is already out, because you see the real deal on my Facebook page. Found smarter than me. I've learned a few things over the years. We're gonna win again, y'all.
Yes.
We are gonna win again. So after they kicked me off of that, after I left the committee, they're like, well, we're gonna teach her. We're gonna strip her of all of her committees. All of them. They rewrote the rules of the Senate. And they said you can only be in the Republican caucus or the Democratic caucus if you're gonna get committee assignment. Do you know what happens if you belong to a committee? I was fined at least $10,000 a year. Now, I only make $18,000 a year, about $950 a month. You do the math.
Yeah.
The pay-to-play system in Richmond is wrong. The first 4 years I figured this out. This is what's happening. Now I want y'all to pay attention. If you join one of these two caucuses, you are fined a caucus due of $10,000 a year. Okay? Now, just to get, the $8,000 left is for hair, makeup, and clothes, y'all. I mean, we're like breaking even. I got to get an amen in here. So we're barely breaking even here.
You can get a great haircut with that kind of money.
Yes. I exposed what they were doing and they didn't like it. What is happening is they put these fines dependent on the lobbyists and the PACs to pay for caucus dues. And I figured this out my third year because I'm a quick study, but it's like trying to figure things out. The last 2 years of my first term, I didn't pay caucus dues because I'm like, that's pay to play. It's wrong.
Yep.
I'm not doing it. And they shunned me. They shunned me. They put me they stripped me of all my committee assignments after they made those rules for me, except for one. And I caused a lot of trouble in that one. And they put me in a corner. They took me out of where, because I have seniority, which they haven't been able to take from me, but they put me over in a corner to shame me. to shame me. I thought about getting a dunce cap. I was gonna bedazzle it or something, and coming in there with a dunce cap on, so I could be like, yeah, I'm for freedom. I'm from the people. Hello. But that's what they do to you, and so I want to be an example for you to be brave. And you know, God has a plan for everything. Listen, now I have all this free time to run for governor because I'm not sitting through all these boring committee meetings. And you know what? I'm speaking more on the floor of the Senate now that I don't have an opportunity to express myself at these committee meetings. I get to talk on the floor of the Senate so everybody gets to hear what I have to say. And it's recorded. So, session takes a lot longer now that Chase is not on any committees. That's okay. Listen, I want to thank you all for being here tonight, but I've spoken quite a bit tonight, and I want to give you all the opportunity to ask some questions if we have time to do so.
Can I ask the first question?
Yes, you can, but I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
I gotta do my clothes, man.
The big clothes.
Because I'd like to leave you with some hope. Listen, we know what's going on here. We know what's going on here. We're gonna stick together, y'all.
Yes.
We're gonna stick together. And we're gonna win again. And it's coming real soon. And I will tell you this, I will not back down. I will fully run for the governor's race. So if you hear any rumors or whatever, because there's going to be that's what they do. They confuse. The Democrats and even some of the Republicans try to confuse people. I'm telling you right now, face to face, this is so important to me and to my children and country. I will fully run. And I don't like conventions, y'all, because I've seen too many shenanigans, which is why I've said I will only run in a primary. I will not participate in a convention where the party elites and the political establishment, I'm glad you guys are reforming all that because it's been real yucky for a long time. And the consultants determine who these shenanigans. And I've been through so many of these conventions that I refuse to participate in those. Not because I'm not a Republican, not because I'm looking for a third party candidate. I'm giving myself 2 years to run so I can visit every single city and county in the Commonwealth so we can fully win. And I've put the Republican Party on notice. And I said, I am seeking the Republican nomination in a primary only. And it's up to you. If you split the vote because you choose a convention, it's the Republican Party that has split the vote, not me. Because I refuse to participate in a convention that disenfranchises the people and makes them puppets of the consultants and the party elite and the Republican mafia. And if you'd like a list, I can list you their names. But I won't tonight because I'm going to be charitable. God bless you guys. I am so encouraged to see you guys tonight. I really thought that I didn't know what to expect when I came tonight, and to see all you here and that you live in the N-word, the Nova. I haven't talked to all of you yet, but y'all are like, nobody's thrown anything at me yet. So I'm very encouraged. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you.